You are now entering the Drowsy portal. Before we begin, would you do something for me? In the comments, tell me what time it is for you and where in the world you're listening from. I read every one of them, and I always wonder, who's out there sharing this quiet moment? If these journeys help you rest or slow down, or just dream a little deeper, consider liking or subscribing. But only if it truly brings you peace. Now, close your eyes. Tonight, you are not yourself. You are a trader on Wall Street. The year is 1986. The ticker hums, the pit is waiting, and the city outside is still asleep. For now. Soon, you'll be standing in the open outcry ring. Your jacket chalked, your voice clear, your hands alive with signal. But not yet. First comes coffee, the walk, the ritual, the stillness before the storm. This is a day unlike any other, a day of instinct and rhythm, risk and grace, of glances exchanged across the pit, and trades that speak louder than words. Let go. Let the stillness begin. The Drowsy Portal presents You Are a Trader on Wall Street, 1986. It is early morning in New York City, 1986. You awaken just before dawn in your modest Manhattan apartment. The first light of day peeks through the gap in your curtains, painting faint amber stripes across the floor. You lie still for a moment, gathering your thoughts in the quiet. In the distance, the city is beginning to stir, a muffled car horn here, the hush of a garbage truck there, but inside your space it's calm and dim. You inhale the cool morning air coming through a cracked window and feel a flutter of anticipation in your chest. Today is another trading day, and you are eager to embrace its challenges and rhythms. You rise and begin your morning ritual at an unhurried pace. The wooden floor is cool under your feet. In the soft light, you move through familiar motions, folding the bed covers, stretching your arms overhead to loosen any remnants of sleep, and then heading to the small kitchen nook to start your coffee. The drip coffee maker gurgles softly, releasing the rich, comforting aroma of fresh brew. As it percolates, you pad over to the door to retrieve the newspaper, the Wall Street Journal, neatly folded in its plastic sleeve. Outside your door, the hallway is quiet. A neighbor's radio plays a faint tune down the hall, possibly a jazz melody that mingles with the sounds of morning news. You smile and return inside with the paper and a sense of calm focus. At the table, you savor the first hot sip of coffee, feeling its warmth spread through you. The newspaper headlines catch your eye, stories of the booming economy and the latest corporate takeover rumor, reflections on yesterday's market close, and updates on global events. The mid-1980s bull market is in full swing. The Dow Jones Index has been hitting record highs, climbing through the 1,800s and beyond. In fact, just recently, the Dow broke new milestones in rapid succession, crossing 1,600, 1,700, 1,800 in early 1986, and there's optimistic talk that it may soon approach the momentous 2,000 mark. The papers trumpet these achievements with a mix of excitement and caution. You run your fingers over the newsprint and feel the slight smudge of ink on your fingertips. One headline reads, "Market soars on merger mania, bulls charge ahead." Another notes a change in interest rates, whispering of new opportunities in bond trading and arbitrage for those in the know. You let your eyes drift over an article about a famous bond firm, recounting how Salomon Brothers and its brash traders have been dominating the bond market in the 1980s. It's interesting background, but bonds are not your focus today. You're an equities man on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, NYSE, where stocks and the open outcry of the trading crowd are your world. After scanning the news and finishing your light breakfast, you take a quick shower. The water is hot and bracing, waking up your body and mind. Steam clouds the mirror as you towel off and dress. Your attire is typical for a Wall Street floor trader of the era. A crisp, white dress shirt, navy suspenders over your shoulders, they're practical for long days and a bit of a fashion statement among traders in this decade, and a well-tailored gray suit. Instead of a formal suit jacket, you don a trading jacket, a lightweight waist-length jacket with your firm's color and badge sewn on the breast. Many floor traders wear these distinctive jackets, some in bright hues, making the trading floor a patchwork of color. Yours is a deep blue with patch pockets, comfortably broken in from years of wear. You affix your ID badge to your lapel, the metal clip snapping with a tiny click. The badge bears your name and a code, marking you as a member of the exchange. You slip on a pair of polished leather shoes, their black surface catching a subtle shine. They fit snugly, worn enough to be comfortable, yet still sturdy for a day of standing and dashing across the floor. Before leaving, you take a moment to collect the tools of your trade. You tuck a notepad and a few paper trading cards into your inside jacket pocket. These cards are printed slips used to record trades, some blue for buys and red for sells, each with lines to jot down the details of a transaction. On the floor, you and other brokers will scribble frenetic notes on these cards as you execute orders, often in pencil for quick adjustments. The cards have carbon copy layers. When a deal is struck, you tear off one part to hand to a clerk or runner, while keeping a copy for yourself. Dozens of these little paper slips will likely pass through your hands today, preserving the written contracts amid the whirlwind of shouted trades. You also check for your lucky pen, a slightly battered ballpoint that has survived countless trading days in your shirt pocket, a small ritual of comfort. Satisfied that you have everything, you grab your leather briefcase, scuffed at the corners, containing a few personal items and yesterday's trading records. With a final glance around your apartment, you switch off the lights. Time to head to Wall Street. Stepping out onto the street, you are greeted by the fresh energy of a Manhattan morning. The sun has climbed above the horizon now, casting a golden glow between the skyscrapers. The air carries the sense of the city awakening. The yeasty smell of bagels from a nearby bakery mingles with the faint tang of newsprint from a newspaper stand at the corner. You walk at an easy pace, joining a trickle of early commuters on the sidewalk. Office workers, secretaries, and fellow finance professionals emerge from apartment buildings and subways, all moving with purpose, but not yet in the frantic rush of peak hour. There's a subtle camaraderie among the early birds, a nod or half-smile as you recognize another person who likely works in finance heading downtown. Your route takes you through a few blocks of the financial district. The streets here are narrow, remnants of old colonial lanes, and the tall buildings cause echoes and cool shadows even on a sunny morning. You pass a steaming cart where a vendor is arranging fresh bagels and pastries. The smell of hot pretzels and coffee from these carts is a hallmark of the city morning. You decide to grab a second cup of coffee to go. The vendor, an older man in a flat cap, pours it into a paper cup and flashes you a grin. "Off to the races?" he asks knowingly as he hands you the cup. "You bet," you reply with a chuckle, trading a dollar bill and a few coins for the drink. The coffee is strong and bitter, just how you like it, and it fuels your growing alertness. As you near Wall Street, the streets begin to teem with more people. It's nearing 8 a.m., and the neighborhood is livening up. You weave through a small crowd of messengers on bicycles delivering envelopes to office buildings, and then past a group of well-dressed bankers laughing together as they exit a black car. The men wear power ties in bold colors, and the women in sharp, shoulder-padded suits keep stride. In this decade, everyone in finance dresses with a certain flamboyance and confidence. Overhead, electronic ticker displays on some buildings start to flicker with pre-market prices. You glance up at one green text scrolling on a black background, showing the futures and some European stock indicators. The ticker is like the heartbeat of Wall Street, a continuous stream of numbers telling the world's financial story in real time. Decades ago, this information would have arrived on long ticker tape strips of paper, chattering out of machines with a tick-tick sound, hence the name. By 1986, much of the tape is gone, replaced by electronic screens, but traders still speak of reading the tape as they check the prices. Finally, you reach 11 Wall Street, the address of the New York Stock Exchange. The building's facade is iconic. Tall Corinthian columns of white marble and a pediment with classical sculptures looming above the broad steps. An immense American flag drapes above the entrance, stirring gently in the morning breeze. You pause for just a second at the foot of the steps, taking in the sight. Even though you've worked here for years, the NYSE building fills you with a sense of pride and excitement every day. It's not just an institution, it feels almost like a living organism, with its own pulse and personality. You join the stream of members and staff climbing the steps, some chatting, some looking over papers one last time, many with coffees in hand. A security guard at the door checks badges briskly, and you flash yours as you pass through the threshold into the grand lobby. Inside, the exchange building hums with preparation. The marble foyer echoes with footsteps. You make your way through the metal detector and a quick security check, a practice that's become more common in recent years, and then enter the main trading floor. The space opens up before you, a vast hall with a lofty ceiling crisscrossed by steel girders and buzzing fluorescent lights. The trading floor is not a simple open room. It's filled with crowded trading posts, each like an island or a circular kiosk where specific stocks are traded. By tradition and necessity, each post handles a subset of listed companies, and specialist brokers man those posts, ready to match buy and sell orders for their assigned stocks. Already, many specialists and their assistants, often called clerks, are at their stations, checking overnight orders and writing initial quotes on display boards. In some corners, you see old chalkboards hanging on the wall or mounted near trading posts, remnants of a time when chalkies would frantically update prices by hand during hectic sessions. By the 1980s, these have mostly been replaced or supplemented by digital displays, but a few boards remain for quick note-taking or as backups. A light dusting of chalk powder clings to the frame of one board, evoking the history of how generations of traders once relied on chalk and erasers to record the market's every tick. You take in a breath and notice the smell of the floor, a mixture of many human presences, a hint of cologne, a whiff of ink from marker pens, and an underlying scent of paper. Thousands of sheets of order forms, tickets, and reports that will pass through here today. It's still relatively calm before the opening bell. The floor's usual roar is subdued to a murmur of conversations, the ringing of telephones, and an occasional burst of laughter. You navigate your way to your trading booth, a sort of mini-office at the periphery of the floor, complete with telephones and a board for messages. This is where your firm's clerical staff and phone operators work, taking incoming calls from clients or the main office and relaying orders to you on the floor. Your young protege, a junior clerk named Michael, is already there, organizing notepads and checking the schedule. Michael is in his early 20s, fresh out of college, with bright eyes full of ambition. He's dressed in a slightly oversized exchange-issued trading jacket, a hand-me-down from a predecessor, and has a telephone headset resting around his neck. The jacket's sleeves are a tad long on him, giving away that he's new and still finding his fit. Seeing you approach, he breaks into a nervous smile. "Good morning," he says, voice upbeat but betraying a touch of anxiety. "Morning, kid," you reply warmly, patting him on the shoulder. You remember your own start in this business about a decade ago, how the sheer scale and intensity of the trading floor overwhelmed you until a kindly older trader took you under his wing. Now you strive to be that steadying presence for Michael. "How are we looking?" you ask, nodding at the phone lines and noting the stack of order tickets on the desk. He clears his throat and gives a quick report. A few client orders came in via telex and phone earlier. Some buys, some sells that will need executing once the market opens. He's written them neatly on order slips. There's an order to buy a block of shares in IBM at market price, and another to sell a few thousand shares of a telecom stock if it hits a certain level. He also mentions a rumor filtering in via the broker's grapevine. One of the big investment banks is supposedly about to announce a merger of two major companies later in the day. It's unconfirmed, just chatter on the street, but if true, it could send those stocks swinging up or down. You nod thoughtfully. Wall Street loves rumors, and part of your job is to balance on that razor's edge of speculation and reality. Many trades are made on whispers long before news becomes official. You instruct Michael to keep an ear out for any confirmation on that merger talk, but not to spread it. Smart traders listen more than they speak when it comes to rumors. Together, you run through a quick checklist of preparations. You double-check that your trading pads have carbon paper in place for duplicate tickets. You test one of the multi-line telephones at the booth, a bulky push-button phone with flashing line indicators, making sure you have a clear line to your firm's trading desk uptown in case they call with instructions. The phone gives a friendly crackle, all good. Michael shows you a slip where he's jotted key economic data coming out later. Some government report due at 10 a.m., likely to be mentioned on the news ticker. So you're aware. You appreciate his thoroughness and tell him so, which makes him stand a little taller with pride. There's a small ritual you perform before the opening each day. Taped to the inside of your booth's panel is a yellowed photograph of the trading floor taken decades ago. Men in jackets and shirt sleeves, chalkboards filled with numbers, paper strewn on the floor. Your mentor gave it to you, telling you that whenever you feel overwhelmed, to look at that photo and remember that the chaos has always been there, yet deals get done and life moves forward. You glance at it now and take a slow breath. The floor in the photo indeed looks chaotic, but you know that beneath the apparent madness lies an orderly system, a dance of bids and offers that has been refined over a century. It reassures you. You share an encouraging grin with Michael. "Ready for the madness?" you ask lightly. He nods, exhaling, "Ready as I'll ever be." A few minutes remain until the opening bell at 9:30 a.m. Traders around you begin to drift toward their posts, gathering like sprinters before a race. You join them, moving to the post where one of your main stocks, let's say Atlas Industries, a fictional company for this story, is traded. The specialist for Atlas, a gentleman named Sam, stands in the center of the post. Sam is an older, silver-haired fellow with sharp eyes and a red tie. He has the poise of a ship's captain, calm and alert. In front of him is a registry book and a small electronic terminal that's relatively new, showing pre-market buy and sell orders for Atlas that have queued up via electronic routing. Despite new tech, Sam still keeps a chalk piece in hand, occasionally writing the current bid and ask on a small blackboard at his station for everyone to see. He greets you with a cordial nod. "Morning. How's it looking, Sam?" you ask. He replies, "Morning. Looks like Atlas has some interest. A batch of buy orders at the open. We might have an uptick." You acknowledge this, mentally preparing. An uptick at open means the price may start a bit higher due to demand. All around, similar clusters of brokers and traders position themselves by the posts of various stocks, eyeing the specialist or each other, ready to shout out their first orders of the day. The noise level ticks up gradually. You hear laughter from one corner as friends share a quick joke, perhaps about last night's Knicks game, or a light-hearted prank someone pulled at yesterday's close. Pranks are a floor tradition, like the times when a joker would draw a chalk outline around a trader who tripped and fell, pretending it's a crime scene, much to everyone's amusement. A phone rings insistently at a clerk's desk and is snatched up, someone calling in a last-second change. Overhead, a loudspeaker makes a brief announcement about a trading halt on some small stock, not one of yours, due to news pending standard procedure to pause trading if big news is about to hit for that company. You feel your pulse quicken, but it's a controlled excitement. You've done this hundreds of times. This is the calm before the storm, and you've learned to find a serene focus amid it. You roll your shoulders to release tension, and notice others doing the same. Some traders have their own superstitions. One across from you closes his eyes and mutters a quick prayer. Another adjusts the lucky trading pin on his jacket. You simply breathe steadily, centering yourself. High up on a wall, the large digital clock is ticking closer to 9:30. The second hand of the old analog clock, still retained for tradition above the digital readout, sweeps its final few ticks. An exchange official in a suit stands on the podium with the brass gavel that will signal the opening. He raises his arm. The final seconds stretch out in silence as nearly everyone pauses, eyes flicking either to the clock or to their specialist, muscles coiled, waiting. Clang! The opening bell rings out, a sharp brass peal reverberating through the hall. In the same instant, the trading floor erupts into a roar. The transformation is instantaneous and electrifying. What was a low murmur a minute ago becomes a full-throated cacophony of shouts. Dozens upon dozens of voices overlap, brokers hollering the names of stocks and quantities, the words buy and sell flying in all directions. Hands shoot up into the air with fingers splayed in numeric signals. A trader flashes 2 fingers, then a clenched fist, indicating a bid for 200 shares, while another across the crowd signals open palms facing his head, the gesture to buy, hoping someone will sell to him. It's a scene of organized chaos, exactly as you knew it would be. The sound is immense, a constant thunder of human voices, occasionally punctuated by the shrill ring of a phone, or the BRRP of a teletype machine printing a headline. Overhead monitors flicker to life, showing the first traded prices of the day for various stocks. Green numbers for upticks, red for downticks. You dive into action, becoming one with the chaos. At the Atlas post, you have orders from your clients to buy shares, so you raise your voice. Buy 5,000 Atlas at 42, you shout towards Sam and the crowd around him. Your voice is strong and practiced. It cuts through the noise in your immediate vicinity. Immediately, several heads turn other brokers who might be selling Atlas, and hands wave. Sam, the specialist, is already repeating, 42 bid for 5,000. Confirming the bid to everyone, Another broker across the circle yells, "Selling 5 at 42, indicating he's offering 5,000 shares at 42. Sam's clerk swiftly notes this down. You lock eyes with the selling broker, raise your hand and nod. It's a match. "Sold, done," you shout to seal the deal, and he echoes, "Sold," in agreement. Just like that, a trade is executed. It's astonishing how quickly it happens. Seconds of frenzied shouting, gestures, a meeting of minds, and the transaction is born out of thin air. Both you and the selling broker immediately pull out your trading tickets and scribble the details. Atlas Industries, 5,000 shares at $42. The counterpart broker's badge code, time of trade. You circle buy on your ticket. The pre-printed word stands out so even in haste you won't mistake it. Carbon copies underneath mean you'll have duplicates for record keeping. You tear off the top white copy, your record, and hand the yellow copy to Sam's assistant who is collecting them. A runner, a messenger on the floor, comes by and you hand him the white copy with a quick instruction to bring it to your booth for processing. He darts off, weaving through the throng, carrying your filled order like a baton in a relay. This slip will be time-stamped and entered into the NYSE system by a clerk, and eventually matched with the seller's slip for clearing. You barely have a moment to breathe, but inside you feel a small surge of triumph. The first trade of the day is successfully behind you. Now the next one. Paper slips flutter in the air around you. Some traders toss them toward their clerks or drop them for runners to scoop up later, creating a snow of paper on the ground. Already, the floor is littered with a confetti of yellow, pink, and white paper scraps, the tangible residue of countless trades being made this very minute. The scene around you is intense. Brokers jostle shoulder to shoulder, leaning in to hear and be heard. A chorus of, "Buy, buy, 50 up for 10. Take it, sold 10. What's the market on Delta? 37 bid, 38 ask," rings out. You hear the rustle of jackets as people shove closer and feel the slight sting of chalk dust in the air. A specialist just erased and rewrote a quote on a board nearby, sending a tiny cloud up. Not far from you, a friend and fellow trader named Tony is in the thick of another crowd at a different post. Tony is one of your longtime friends on the floor. You started around the same time years ago. He's got a reputation as a bit of a risk taker, always chasing the next big trade. You steal a glance over and see him waving both arms and shouting, face flushed with exertion. He's trading a volatile stock, perhaps a flashy tech IPO of the era or a rumored takeover target, and it looks busy over there. You catch a fragment of his yell, sell two at a quarter." It's hard to tell how it's going for him, but knowing Tony, he's likely neck-deep in a bold position already. You make a mental note to check on him later when things calm down. On this floor, friendships run deep, forged by years of standing together in the trenches of the market's battles. You and Tony often grab a beer after work to decompress, and you worry sometimes that his risk appetite might one day catch up to him. But right now, there's no time to dwell. Another order beckons. Over the next hour, you are completely absorbed in the dance of open outcry trading. It's a blur of activity, yet somehow you find a rhythm in it. Your senses sharpen. You notice subtle cues amid the din. A flick of another trader's fingers signals he's raising his offer. A slight change in the pitch of the shouts around the post tells you when a big order just hit the market. You move from post to post as needed, executing orders for several different stocks your clients are interested in. At one moment you're at a post trading a large bank stock. The next you're squeezing into the crowd for an oil company's shares. With each trade, you bellow out your intentions. 20,000 for sale at 15/8, or I'll take 5 at a half. The lingo flows naturally. Prices are often quoted in fractions, e.g., 15 and 3/8, meaning $15.375, as is standard in the 1980s. Your voice grows hoarser with each shout, but adrenaline pushes you on. Hands clap shoulders, traders nod fiercely to confirm deals, clerks scurry with tokens of transactions. It's a human storm of commerce, yet beneath it all there is order. Everyone has a role, and there are unwritten rules guiding the bedlam. If someone shouts, "Sold," before you, you know they have priority on that trade. If two brokers dispute a trade, did you say 50 or 15? The floor officials nearby, staff overseeing fairness, step in to resolve it, though thankfully you don't have any disputes this morning. Amid the frenzy, you occasionally catch the specialist's eye for a brief exchange, a nod to adjust a price, a gesture to indicate a large incoming order, a silent communication built on trust and experience. Throughout the morning, you keep a protective, if peripheral, watch on Michael, your protege. He isn't executing trades himself yet. He's still too green and not licensed as a broker, but he's observing everything from just behind the rail of the trading pit, eyes wide. At one point, while you pause at the booth to grab a new stack of blank tickets, Michael excitedly whispers, "You were amazing on that Atlas trade. It was like you knew that seller would be there." You smile and explain briefly that it's about reading the crowd and the order flow, a skill honed over time. "I saw Jim over there had a big sell order. He kept signaling he had size to sell, so I figured if I put a bid out he'd hit it," you say. Michael nods, absorbing the insight. You give him a small task to keep him involved. "Do me a favor. Mark down the last price for Atlas and Acme Corp here on this notepad every 5 minutes. It'll help you track the momentum." He eagerly complies, grateful to contribute. Mentoring him gives you a quiet satisfaction amid the chaos. It reminds you of your own journey and why you love this job. Not just for the trades, but for the tradition and craft of it passed from one person to another. Time on the floor moves strangely. The first couple of hours of the trading day always seem to vanish in an instant. By late morning, say around 11 a.m., the initial rush has settled slightly. The volume of trading often peaks in those first hours, then lulls a bit toward midday before maybe picking up again at the close. You feel the intensity dial back one notch, and only now do you notice the soreness in your throat from shouting and the slight ache in your feet from the constant standing and shuffling. You've executed numerous orders successfully. Some, like that initial Atlas block, were straightforward. Others were more complex. You had to split one large order into several smaller trades, negotiating with multiple sellers to accumulate the total shares needed. That meant writing multiple tickets and rapidly calculating weighted average prices in your head as you went. But it all got done. Buyers and sellers found each other, guided by the chorus of voices and the auction that is open outcry. You step back to your booth for a breather. A glance at the big electronic board overhead, displaying key indices and actively traded stocks, shows that the market as a whole is slightly up today. The Dow Jones average is in green, a modest gain so far. The headline ticker scrolling along one wall reports some news. 11 a.m., Fed Chairman hints at no rate change, market steady. That explains the relatively calm mood now. No surprises from the Fed means no sudden shock to bond or stock prices at the moment. You wipe a bit of sweat from your brow with a handkerchief and gulp down some water from a paper cup Michael hands you. He updates you on incoming messages. One client called wanting an update on their order, which you filled, so he's been notified, and another has placed a new order to sell if a certain stock hits a target. "We'll watch for that after lunch," you say, making a note. Michael is flushed with excitement himself. "This is incredible," he says over the noise. "I knew it would be loud, but being in the middle of it is something else entirely." You grin. "It's something, all right. How are your ears holding up?" He laughs. "Ringing a bit, but I'm fine." Together, you do a quick tally of the major trades done this morning. Everything appears in order. The paper trail of tickets and confirmations is intact. Thanks to the NYSE's efficient system and Michael's vigilance, each trade you made is being reconciled. Your sell tickets matched with someone's buy tickets, logged and sent off to clearing. It's comforting to know that behind the shouting, a reliable record-keeping mechanism grinds away to ensure no one's trades vanish into thin air. Even if the crowd scenes seem chaotic, by day's end, all trades will be checked and settled. That knowledge allows you to focus on the human element during the open, trusting the system to handle the rest. The day presses on towards midday, and the trading floor's earlier frenzy mellows to a steady buzz. Some traders have stepped away for an early lunch or a short break, leaving the crowds thinner than the morning peak. This gives you a little room to breathe and reflect, even as you remain engaged in the market's ebbs and flows. Standing by the post of a mid-cap stock that isn't too active at the moment, you exchange a few friendly words with the specialist, Sam. He shares a lighthearted anecdote about how, just last week, a broker had gotten so excited about a successful trade that he launched a wad of paper into the air like confetti, only for a runner to quip that he was making it snow on the trading floor. Such impromptu humor is common here. A way to release tension. You chuckle at the image, nodding. As you chat, you idly glance upward. High in the rafters, the dingy ceiling fans rotate lazily, doing their part to stir the warm air. You also spot, perched on a railing above, a couple of visitors in the gallery, maybe clients or tourists, observing the spectacle below. Their faces show astonishment and delight at the scene of open outcry trading in action, seeing what looks like pandemonium, yet results in real economic activity. You recall being told that to an outsider, the floor appears like a bunch of people screaming and throwing paper, with absolute chaos, but to those inside it, there is structure and method. The thought makes you quietly proud. You're fluent in this special language of Wall Street that few truly understand. Nearby, you notice Michael still shadowing you faithfully. His notepad is scribbled with prices and observations as you had asked. He's been focusing intently for hours, and you realize he might not know when to take a break. So you lean in and suggest, "How about we grab a quick bite for lunch soon?" He looks surprised, as if he hadn't considered that in the excitement. "Oh, sure, if you think it's okay for us to step out," he replies. You reassure him. Midday is usually safe for a short break, especially as long as we have someone cover any urgent orders. You gesture to a colleague at the booth, letting them know you'll be out briefly, and to call your pager if anything needs immediate attention. Before leaving, you decide to show Michael one more slice of trading life. There's a junior trader you know, Elena, stationed a few posts over. She's one of the relatively few women on the floor, still a rarity in 1986, but she carries herself with confidence and skill, earning respect over the years. You call her over during a lull and introduce Michael. Elena smiles kindly and shares a quick story about her early days. How on her first day, she misheard a trade and wrote 1,000 instead of 100, causing a bit of panic, but the team caught it in time. Michael listens raptly as Elena imparts a bit of wisdom. Everyone makes mistakes here, but you learn fast. And you'll never forget the lessons, because the floor has a way of teaching you on the spot. It's a brief interaction, but you can tell it bolsters Michael's spirits to know that even seasoned traders stumbled when they were new. With that, you and Michael exit the building for lunch. Stepping out onto the street at midday, you're struck by the contrast. After the artificial light and noisy enclosure of the trading floor, the outside world greets you with open space and a comparatively gentle din. The sun has risen high, shining down between the towers of the financial district. The air is warm, a hint of late summer lingers, and the sky above is a brilliant blue, glimpsed in slices between buildings. You both take a moment to just breathe in the fresh air, reorienting yourselves to normalcy. Wall Street at lunchtime is busy in its own way. Clusters of office workers and traders stand outside the exchange, many loosening their ties or shrugging off their jackets in the midday warmth. There's a mix of conversations floating around. Some people talk sports or weekend plans. Others still discuss market moves. Did you catch that spike in IBM earlier? Wild ride. A few tourists are about as well, snapping photos of the stock exchange facade and the famous George Washington statue on the steps of Federal Hall across the street. The statue's bronze form looks down sternly as ever, as if watching over the bustling money changers of modern times. You decide to take Michael to one of your favorite nearby spots, a tiny deli on a side street known for its pastrami sandwiches. It's a short walk past several investment bank headquarters and brokerage offices. Outside one building, you pass a newsstand displaying the midday editions. Bold block letters shout from the business page, "Market hits new highs." Optimism abounds. And another paper has, "Insider trading scandal widens." Indeed, the mid-'80s had their share of scandals. You think briefly of the infamous Ivan Boesky, caught in an insider trading scheme not long ago. That saga is actually unfolding around this time, though you decide not to bring up something so negative in this restful narrative moment. Instead, you point out a lighter snippet to Michael, a headline about a celebrity ringing the closing bell at the exchange later this week. "We'll have a special guest at the bell on Friday, it seems," you say. He grins. "That's cool. Maybe I'll get an autograph." At the deli, the familiar scent of cured meats and pickles envelops you as soon as you push the door open. The place is narrow and modest, with a few small tables crammed in and a long counter where orders are taken. The tile floor is a bit worn, and the walls have yellowing photos of proud owners and local celebrities who visited. A couple of traders you know are already there, hunched over the counter eating, their badges still hanging around their necks. They raise their sandwiches in greeting as you enter. The proprietor, a stout man with a white apron, recognizes you and shouts a jovial, "Hey!" the usual, over the clatter of a slicing machine. You order 2 pastrami on rye, extra mustard, and 2 sour pickles on the side. The classic combo. Michael's eyes light up. He's clearly hungry and excited, perhaps more so for the experience than even the food. You carry your trays to a corner table that luckily just opened up. Michael takes a bite of his sandwich and practically melts. "This is amazing," he mumbles through the warm, savory pastrami. You nod, enjoying your own. The first bite yields that perfect mix of soft rye bread, smoky spiced meat, and tangy mustard, an anchor to simple pleasures amid a complicated day. For a few minutes, the two of you eat in contented silence, letting your systems recharge. As you eat, you also reflect quietly on the day so far, and inevitably, on your journey to this point. The deli's atmosphere, with its New York chatter and clinking dishes, forms a gentle backdrop to your thoughts. Perhaps it's the lull in action, or seeing Michael's eager youth, but memories of your early career drift in. You recall the first time you set foot on the NYSE floor as a rookie in the late 1970s. How thunderous and intimidating it all seemed, like stepping into a whirlwind. You remember clutching your notepad with sweaty palms, trying to decipher the rapid-fire shouts and hand gestures around you. It felt like being dropped into a foreign land without a phrasebook. But then there was your mentor, a veteran named Charlie, who found you looking lost near the General Electric post. Charlie had a booming laugh and a patience not common to all traders. He showed you how to read the flow of bids and offers, taught you the hand signals, and even gave you your first tip on a lunch spot, this very deli, decades in operation. One of the most valuable lessons he imparted was to keep your cool when everyone else is losing theirs. On a particularly volatile day in 1982, when interest rates spiked unexpectedly and the market was dropping fast, you started to panic. Charlie placed a firm hand on your shoulder amid the chaos and said, "Focus on one thing at a time. The market's like a storm. You can't stop the wind, but you can find your footing." That advice got you through the bearish days of the early 80s and beyond. Charlie retired a couple of years ago, but his words echo in you still. You share a bit of this story with Michael between bites, especially the storm metaphor. He listens intently, eyes wide at the idea of the market plunging and what it must have felt like. "Were you scared?" he asks. You admit honestly, "Yes, absolutely, but it's normal to feel that." The key is what you do with the fear. Let it paralyze you, or let it sharpen you. Over time, you learn to convert that adrenaline into focus. He nods, digesting both the sandwich and your words. Michael then confides something. "I was so nervous this morning I barely slept last night. I kept worrying I'd mess up or get in your way." You smile kindly. Everyone feels that at first. The fact you care so much means you're going to do fine. You did great today. You observed, you helped, and you didn't panic. That's a strong start. He smiles, relief evident on his face. "I really appreciate you showing me the ropes. Not everyone takes the time," he says quietly. It's true. The trading floor can be a sink-or-swim environment. Mentorship is an old tradition, but not a guarantee. You were lucky with Charlie, and now Michael is lucky with you. You feel a sense of responsibility and pride in continuing that lineage. Lunch wraps up and you polish off the last pickle. You glance at your watch. Time to head back. The entire break might have been only 20 or 30 minutes, but it was a valuable oasis of rest. Many traders are already filing back to the exchange, the sidewalk filling with a stream of navy and gray suits returning to the fray. You and Michael step back out into the sunlight. Before you re-enter the building, you take a brief pause on the steps, turning your face up to the sun for a moment, eyes closed. You feel the warmth and let it center you. This small moment of city reflection washes over you. You're aware of the unique beauty of this place and moment in time. The skyscrapers of Lower Manhattan stand guard around you. A light breeze carries the distant sound of a saxophone, perhaps a street busker around the corner playing a soulful tune, faint but sweet. The twin towers of the World Trade Center are visible farther down the street, soaring into the blue sky, symbols of the city's financial might and a reference point in your daily skyline. In that brief reflection, you feel grateful for the energy of the city, for the chance to do what you love, and for the fact that at the end of the day, you'll get to rest and do it all again tomorrow. You open your eyes and catch Michael also looking around, perhaps noticing the same saxophone melody. "This city, there's nowhere like it," you muse softly. He agrees. "I've dreamed of being here since I was a kid." You pat his back and together you head inside, rejoining the bustling world of marble halls and trading desks. Back on the trading floor, the afternoon session begins. There's typically a more subdued tone after lunch. Some traders are still returning, shrugging back into their colorful jackets, and the earlier manic energy has downshifted to a steady, purposeful hum. The market's mood is moderately positive today, but as always, a single piece of news can change that in a heartbeat. You take your place on the floor again, scanning the scene to gauge what's happening. One of the first things you notice is a subtle buzz around the edges of the floor, clusters of brokers murmuring to each other in tones that suggest something is up. It takes only a moment to catch a snippet. The merger rumor from this morning, which Michael had mentioned, seems to have gained traction. Traders are saying that a big announcement might indeed drop before market close, a huge telecom company possibly acquiring a smaller rival. You see Tony, your risk-loving friend, is particularly animated, whispering urgently with two other traders near the telecom stock's post. His face is flushed and his gestures quick. You know this sign. Tony likely has taken a large position anticipating this news. Perhaps he's bought a boatload of shares in the target company, expecting the price to jump if a merger is confirmed. Or maybe he's shorting the acquiring company's stock, expecting it to dip. Either way, he's put himself out on a limb, true to form. You catch Tony's eye and he gives you a half smile, half grimace, an expression that says, "Things are tense, my friend." You decide to drift closer to that area, partly out of concern, partly because your clients also had some interest in these telecom names. As you approach, you can feel the temperature in that crowd is higher than elsewhere on the floor. The specialist for the telecom stock looks a bit frazzled, fielding questions and balancing a surge of orders. People are clearly positioning themselves for whatever may happen. The price of the target stock is climbing steadily, minute by minute, as speculative buying pours in. You see it on the overhead display. It's up 2 points since midday, an unusually big move in a short time for that stock. The specialist's board even has a note scribbled "News" with a question mark, showing that they're aware something's brewing. Staying calm, you lean towards Tony during a brief lull and ask quietly, "How big are you in on this?" He gives a little shrug, which you know is evasive. "Big enough," he mutters. "Got a hunch it's happening today. If I'm right, it's a home run." His voice tries to sound confident, but you detect the worry underneath. You nod slowly. Tony has seen big wins and big losses. He's no novice, but you worry he sometimes bets the farm. "Watch your downside," you caution softly, almost in his ear amid the noise. He exhales. "Yeah, I know. Just don't want to miss out." Every instinct says it's real. You don't press further. He's made his play, and nothing short of actual confirmation or denial will move him now. "Good luck," you simply say, patting his arm. It's understood that we all ride our own decisions out. Returning to your own work, you remain alert. Rumors can be double-edged swords. They can fizzle or explode. You mentally prepare for both outcomes and consider if any of your clients would be affected. One of your major clients actually holds shares in the big telecom, the rumored acquirer, so if this deal is announced, those shares might drop a bit on dilution fears. Perhaps you should gently trim that position now. You deliberate and decide it's wise. With a subtle gesture, you signal to the specialist that you'd sell a small block of that stock at the current market price. It's executed quietly, one more ticket in your stack. If the news breaks and shares dip, you'll have saved your client a bit of downside. If nothing happens and it rises, the client's still mostly in. It's prudent risk management, done calmly without adding to any panic. As the afternoon progresses, the energy on the floor oscillates. There are moments of quiet, where you chat idly with colleagues or share a joke with a clerk, and moments where suddenly a flurry of orders come in and you're thrust back into action. One such moment arrives when, around 2:30 p.m., the Federal Reserve unexpectedly releases a statement, perhaps regarding currency exchange rates or a minor policy tweak. Instantly, the news flashes on the ticker. Fed adjusts discount rate by 0.25%. It's a small change but hadn't been fully anticipated. A ripple goes through the trading floor as everyone digests the news. Interest rate-sensitive stocks, banks, housing companies react first, their prices flickering rapidly. You've got a bank stock order queued. A client wanted to buy if prices dipped, so you spring to that post. Sure enough, the bank stock is down a half point on the announcement in knee-jerk fashion. You manage to fill the client's buy order at the lower price, executing a smooth trade that you're rather pleased with. A little victory of being nimble. Over at the bond trading desks, though bonds aren't traded on this stock floor, the news would be feeding into bond futures elsewhere. You can imagine similar bursts of activity. Within minutes, the market stabilizes. The rate tweak was minor, not enough to derail the day's general optimism. By 3 p.m., an hour to the closing bell, there's a sense of anticipation. If any big news like that merger is going to be announced during market hours, it would likely hit soon. People are on edge yet also starting to think about wrapping up positions for the day. You check in with Michael at the booth. He's doing well, processing the paperwork of the afternoon's trades, faxing confirmations to the main office, and so on. He's grown noticeably more confident as the day wore on, handling phone calls from clients with a polite professionalism when you were out on the floor. "Any word on that rumor?" he asks under his breath. You shake your head. "Not yet. Keep an eye on the news ticker." Both of you glance at the scrolling headlines. Nothing about the merger still, just routine end-of-day wire news. Your friend Tony is still in that crowd, and you notice his posture is tense. Arms crossed, foot tapping. It's now or never for him. Out of concern, you sidle over once more under the guise of looking to trade something related. Gently, you inquire, "Any updates?" He gives a terse reply, "None." It's all riding on the 3:30 press conference rumor. Ah, so he's banking on a press conference. If that doesn't materialize, the stock might drop back quickly as traders bail out of the speculative positions. Cover some if you can, you suggest quietly, meaning maybe sell a portion to lock in profit or limit potential loss. Tony grimaces. "Maybe I might lighten by 3:45 if nothing's heard." You squeeze his shoulder, understanding that at this point it's his call, and maybe pride and fear are wrestling within him. Back at your regular stocks, trading has slowed. You fill a couple of final client orders. One to settle up, a futures spread where a client was arbitraging between a stock and its index future. A fairly new tactic in the 80s, with program trading and index arbitrage starting to appear. That reminds you how the landscape is gradually shifting. Electronic trading and complex strategies are emerging at the edges of what has traditionally been a very human arena. But today, here, now, it's still flesh and blood humans driving the action, and you find comfort in that. As 3:30 p.m. approaches, a subtle change occurs on the floor. Many traders start to square their books, meaning they're closing out positions they don't want to carry overnight. The noise picks up a notch again as the final hour flurry begins. It's not as chaotic as the open, but there's a certain urgency. People are more direct, less inclined to negotiate hard, more interested in just executing whatever needs to be done before the close. Suddenly, a burst of commotion erupts from the telecom crowd. Exactly where Tony is, you hear shouts and even a cheer or two. It seems the merger news finally broke. The smaller telecom company's CEO apparently was spotted heading into a press event or some leak got confirmed. The target stock soars instantly. You see the price on the big board jump even before hearing details, climbing rapidly by another 3, 4, 5 points in moments. The specialist yells something about the stock being buy-side imbalance, meaning far more buy orders are coming in than sells at the moment. Traders who had shorted are scrambling to cover. Those who went long, like Tony, are now racing to sell some into the spike and take profit. It's a frenzy within that pit, a mini version of a chaotic open. You watch as Tony, with a triumphant grin and a shake of his fist in the air, shouts, "Sold! Sold!" releasing presumably a large chunk of his holdings to eager buyers at this high price. Relief and joy are evident in his face. He bet big, and it paid off. You feel a wave of happiness for him, and a bit of second-hand adrenaline from that pop of action. Moments later, Tony catches your eye and mouths, "Drinks on me tonight," with a grin. You give him a thumbs up. It's heartwarming. These are the moments traders live for, the high of a good gamble rewarded. But you also temper your feelings, knowing that on another day, Tony's luck could reverse. Still, a win is a win, and the floor has a way of celebrating together, even those who weren't directly involved, because it's a shared experience of excitement. With that drama settling, the final minutes tick away. You move through your own checklist. All client orders are either done or deferred to tomorrow if they didn't hit target prices. You have no positions of your own that you're carrying. You typically trade for clients and maybe a little for the firm's account, but today you end flat, which is fine. Michael at the booth confirms all paperwork is in order. Both of you tidy up the remaining tickets, stapling some together with their duplicates and filing them for end-of-day processing. The floor looks different now than it did at the height of noon. The paper that was once flying is now mostly underfoot, trodden, and scattered. Assistants known as sweepers or janitors will come later with big brooms to collect all these discarded order slips, symbolic remains of the day's battles. The air smells of a mix of things, faint sweat, paper, and a hint of something metallic, likely from the electronic equipment. You also notice your own hands have ink marks and a trace of chalk dust, badges of honor for a floor trader. As the clock nears 4 p.m., a sort of collective anticipation builds again, similar to the open but with a different tone. It's the feeling of nearing the finish line of a marathon. Traders gather near their last needed posts, making any final shouts. "Anyone left on the buy side for X? I'll sell what's left at 20. Take it, done." Quick last-second deals zip by. The volume of noise first rises, a concentrated push. Then, remarkably, in the final 10 seconds or so, it begins to fall as everyone braces for the closing bell. The seconds count down on the big clock. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Clang. The closing bell rings, a resonant sound that instantly triggers a transformation. A cheer goes up, a customary thing on the floor, where many traders clap or shout "Yay" at the end of the day, partly out of tradition, partly out of sheer relief. And then, just like that, the chaos subsides. The shout of traders gives way to applause and laughter. People turn to one another, shaking hands, patting backs. The tension of competition melts into camaraderie. On the floor of the NYSE, it's often said that while you're active, you're fierce competitors. But once the bell rings, you're like teammates who just played a hard-fought game together. You see this around you. Two brokers who were red-faced arguing over prices earlier are now grinning and discussing evening plans. A group of clerks high-five because all their paperwork balanced with no errors. Sam, the specialist, wipes his brow and stretches, then offers you a smile and a handshake. "Good trading today." You accept it warmly. "Same to you, Sam. See you tomorrow." "I am You tidy up your area, collect your remaining tickets and notes, and make sure nothing important is left on the floor. Michael is by your side, clearly exhilarated. It's his first full day on the floor, and he has come through with flying colors. "We survived," he jokes. You laugh. "You did great, and yes, we more than survived. We thrived." You decide to let him do something ceremonial. "Here." You hand him the sheaf of duplicate tickets of all trades you executed, now completed and matched. "Take these to the clearing desk." It's a small walk to a side office on the floor, where final trade records are dropped off. Michael marches them over proudly, as if carrying the day's trophy, and returns empty-handed, signifying the official end of your trading duties today. Looking around, you take stock of the scene one last time. The trading floor at day's end has a unique feel. The once deafening room is now filled with moderate conversational noise. Many traders have already departed, or are in the process of doing so, talking in small huddles or heading towards the exits. The lighting seems a tad dimmer. Perhaps they've lowered it, or maybe it's just the contrast to outside light as some doors open. Uniformed exchange staff move through the aisles, methodically collecting waste and resetting things for tomorrow. The massive electric boards still show prices, but now they're static, frozen at the closing values. You catch the final numbers for the day. The Dow up maybe 10 points, a decent, uneventful gain in the grand scheme. That telecom stock ended up significantly, marking the big story of the day. Everything is in its place. You feel a deep sense of completion. It's like that moment after a concert or a big game. The adrenaline ebbing, a pleasant fatigue setting in, and a quiet pride in having been part of it. You rotate your shoulders and neck, feeling the stiffness from hours of tension gradually loosening. Michael stands next to you, looking like he's just run a marathon and loved it. "Thank you," he says earnestly, "for guiding me through this. I'll never forget this day." You smile, patting his back. "Neither will I," you reply warmly, because truly, each day on the floor, though similar in routine, is unique in experience, and sharing it with someone new renews your own appreciation. You decide it's time to leave this hallowed hall until tomorrow. "All right, let's get out of here," you say, collecting your briefcase and sliding a few saved mementos of the day, perhaps a scribbled note or the front page of the journal, into it. Exiting the stock exchange building in the evening feels different than the morning. The sun is now low in the sky, casting long shadows down Wall Street. The once bustling financial district is quickly emptying out. Many of the suits have vanished, replaced by a more eclectic mix of people. Tourists continuing to wander, locals heading to dinner, doormen beginning their night shifts. The honking frenzy of rush-hour traffic picks up on nearby Broadway as commuters try to escape the city for home. But on the side streets like yours, there's an almost eerie calm after the storm of the trading day. You stand on the steps for a moment with Michael, both of you adjusting to the relative quiet. A faint breeze has picked up, rustling the leaves of a few sparse trees along the sidewalk. It carries with it the urban medley of smells, a hint of exhaust from buses mixed with the enticing aroma of food wafting from nearby restaurants. Italian herbs from one direction, grilled meat from another. Your stomach rumbles appreciatively. That pastrami was hours ago, and the day's exertion has burned it off. Traders often have their own rituals after the closing bell. For you, it's often about unwinding with colleagues, a short walk, and then perhaps a drink or bite with friends to dissect the day's events. Tonight, you remember Tony's exuberant call, drinks on him to celebrate his big win. And there's a particular place that is a favorite for such occasions. a cozy jazz bar not too far away, down in a cellar on a side street, known simply as the Blue Lamp. It's one of those hidden gems where traders, brokers, and occasionally even floor officials gather after hours for respite. The bar is about a 15-minute walk uptown from the Exchange near Tribeca, but on a pleasant evening like this, walking is welcome. You turn to Michael and ask, "Feel like joining for a drink or a soda at a jazz spot? Tony and some others might be there." He beams, clearly honored to be invited into the after-hours circle. "I'd love to," he says. Though young, he can at least raise a toast with a cola or seltzer if nothing else. Together you stroll through the canyon of streets. The skyscrapers around you begin to light up as dusk approaches. Countless windows turning golden from within against the purple-blue sky. You pass the grand facade of Trinity Church at the end of Wall Street. Its Gothic steeple a quiet witness as it has been for centuries to the comings and goings of financiers. The churchyard is peaceful, shadows lengthening among old gravestones, a stark, poetic contrast to the high-powered world next door. It reminds you that New York is full of layers, history, ambition, spirituality, and everyday life, all interwoven on these blocks. As you walk, you and Michael chat easily. The pressure of the day is gone, and now you relate as two humans at leisure. He asks a few more things about how you felt during certain trades. You joke about one of the quirkier traders who always wears crazy patterned socks. Legend has it they're lucky. The conversation drifts to plans for the evening or weekend. Michael mentions he's going to try and write down everything he learned today in a journal so he won't forget. That strikes a chord with you. You too have a habit of journaling, especially at night to wind down. You encourage him. "That's a great idea. I've kept journals for years. It helps to process things, and it'll be a treasure to look back on." He seems pleased to know his mentor does the same. The city around you glows as night falls. Neon signs of shops blink to life. Streetlights flicker on, dotting the sidewalks with warm pools of light. When you reach the jazz bar, the Blue Lamp, it's marked only by a small blue light above a black metal stairway descending below street level. Faint strains of music, a slow saxophone melody, drift upwards each time the door opens. You lead the way down the stairs and inside. The jazz club ambiance envelops you instantly. It's dimly lit, with a cozy haze and intimate atmosphere. Small round tables with candles dot the room. On a tiny stage in the corner, a jazz trio plays a mellow tune, sax, upright bass, and piano. The saxophonist's notes are silky and soothing, each note hanging in the air like a gentle whisper. The low thump of the bass and the subtle comping of the piano create a soft cradle of sound. It's the perfect antidote to a loud day. Here, one must listen closely, quietly, to appreciate the music. Conversations are hushed accordingly, as patrons sip drinks and let the music wash over them. You spot Tony at a table near the stage, waving you over. He's already got a drink in hand, whiskey on the rocks by the look of it, and has obviously been regaling a couple of fellow traders with the tale of his victorious trade. As you and Michael join, Tony immediately stands and gives you a quick one-armed hug, the celebratory kind. "Hey, to the hero of the telecom pits," you tease gently. He laughs. "What a day, huh? I owe you one for keeping me sane." "You did it yourself," you reply. Tony then turns to Michael. "And who's this young man?" "The rookie I've heard about? Great job today, kiddo." Michael shakes Tony's hand, a bit bashful, but clearly thrilled to be included. Everyone settles in. Tony, true to promise, insists on buying the first round. You request your usual evening indulgence, perhaps a neat scotch or a dark beer, something to sip slowly. Michael opts for a cola with a twist of lime, which gets a nod of respect from an older trader at the table. Smart to keep a clear head, kid. Glasses clink softly as you all toast. To a good day, Tony says earnestly. You add, and to good friends. The camaraderie in that moment is palpable. You all drink, letting the warmth spread. The conversation flows in quiet tones, some rehash of the day's events. Can you believe the Fed did that small cut? Maybe setting up for bigger moves, one muses. What about that program trade that hit at 345? Nearly knocked me over on the IBM post, another jokes. There's laughter at the memory of some floor prank that happened last week. Someone put shaving cream in a phone receiver as a joke. Classic antics. The stress of the workday has transformed into humorous anecdotes and reflective analysis here in the glow of the evening. At one point, the band starts playing a familiar jazz standard in a sentimental mood, its gentle, melodic line floating through the room. You lean back in your chair, feeling truly relaxed for the first time all day. The saxophone's sweet tones seem to unknot any muscle still tight, and you find yourself almost drifting in thought. The conversation at the table has paused as all of you listen and savor. Moments like this in the city feel almost magical. You are aware of the contrast between the frantic yelling you did at noon and the gentle music caressing your ears now. It's hard to believe it's the same day, the same city, the same you. You glance around the table. Tony, having let out his pent-up energy, looks content, quietly tapping a finger on the table along with the music. One of the older traders appears downright sleepy, eyes half closed as he swirls the ice in his glass. He might be considering calling it a night soon. And Michael, he's watching the musicians with fascination, likely never having been in a jazz club before. This is an education of another kind for him. You smile, feeling a paternal or mentorly pride and also a kinship. The generational difference fades a bit in moments like these. You're all just people sharing a peaceful interlude. After the song ends, you and your group share a bit more small talk. Tony and the others eventually decide to head home to their families, some with an early commute tomorrow. Tony claps you on the shoulder as he leaves. Get some rest. See you on the battlefield tomorrow. You nod and grin. Bright and early. Michael, too, checks his watch and says he should probably catch his train back to where he lives in Queens. You insist on covering his soda. After all, Tony covered yours. And he thanks you and everyone for the great evening. I feel like I'm part of a family, he says earnestly. You are, you assure him. Welcome to the club. Now go home and sleep. We'll do it all again. He gives a shy smile, nods, and takes his leave, full of youthful energy, even at this hour. Now it's just you left, and you're perfectly fine with that. Sometimes you relish a few minutes alone in this environment to fully decompress. You move to the bar counter itself, where a few solitary figures sit quietly. The bartender, an older woman with kind eyes, knows you from your occasional visits and pours you a glass of water to go with the remains of your drink. Long day, she asks softly. You reply with a tired smile. The usual, sound and fury, then a quiet end. She nods, understanding, probably more than most, since many Wall Streeters come here. The jazz trio breaks into another number, an upbeat but soft swing tune, something like All the Things You Are. It lifts the mood gently. You find yourself lightly tapping a foot on the footrest of the bar stool, feeling the last bits of the day's weight lighten. The bar's air is a mix of faint cigar smoke. Some patrons have likely been smoking in a back room, though it's not too strong out here, and the scent of oak and citrus from the various cocktails being mixed. You savor the last sip of your scotch. It's smooth, peaty, with a honeyed finish that warms your chest. Your thoughts drift in a pleasant haze. Scenes of the day play back in your mind like a montage. The eruption of sound at the opening bell, the intense eye contact with another trader to seal a deal, Michael's eager face jotting notes, Tony's relief as his stock soared, the feel of the cool evening air, and now this, the gentle clink of a piano key and brush of cymbal accompanying your introspection. Emotion wells up softly, a mixture of gratitude, pride, and perhaps a touch of melancholy that each day passes so quickly. In the grand play of life, today was a full act, and you played your part well. After some time, you decide it's time to head home. You settle your tab, thank the bartender, and by extension the musicians, with a respectful nod and a tip in the jar. Stepping out of the blue lamp, you find the night has fully taken hold. The city is illuminated in all its glory. New York at night is a sight that never fails to move you. The narrow street is quieter now, only a few late-night wanderers, and the distant sound of a taxi's tires whooshing over asphalt. You start walking home. You're fortunate to live not too far away, in a small apartment in the West Village. It's a bit of a walk from Tribeca, but you often prefer walking to clear your mind. Tonight, it's especially welcome. As you walk north, the neighborhoods shift subtly from the strictly financial and corporate aura to more residential and bohemian vibes of the village. You pass through blocks where brownstones line the streets, their stoops adorned with potted plants. The soft yellow glow from living room lamps spills through curtained windows, giving peeks of cozy domestic life. A couple enjoying a late dinner, a person reading on a couch with a cat at their feet. These glimpses always warm you. They remind you that beyond the high stakes of Wall Street, the city is composed of countless ordinary, precious moments. The city's soundtrack at night is different too. Instead of shouting traders and ringing phones, you hear a distant siren wail, common but not urgent sounding at the moment. The rumble of a subway beneath grating as you cross an avenue, maybe a couple laughing as they walk by with shopping bags. There's the rhythmic tap of your own heels on the sidewalk, and the gentle jingle of change in your pocket. Each sensory detail feels more pronounced in the calm of night. The air perhaps carries a slight chill now, causing you to pull your jacket closed, its crispness mixed with the faint smell of rain on concrete. Though it didn't rain, sometimes the humidity and the day's heat leave a certain scent. You arrive at your apartment building. It's an old, modest 5-story walk-up on a quiet side street. The familiar creak of the front door and the comforting worn banister greet you as you climb to your floor. Entering your home, you flick on a lamp in the entryway. The soft light illuminates your living room, a snug space with a bookshelf filled with both finance books and classic novels. A few framed photos, one of your first day on the exchange floor long ago, and another of you and colleagues at some celebration, all grinning in trading jackets, and a well-used armchair that calls out to you now. But first, your evening ritual. You change out of your work clothes, freeing yourself from the day's uniform. Hanging up your jacket and carefully placing your badge on the dresser, you change into comfortable attire, perhaps soft cotton pajamas or an old t-shirt and lounge pants. The simple act of removing the suit feels like shedding the role of Wall Street trader and returning to just yourself. You take a moment to wash up. The cool water on your face wipes away the physical remnants of the day, city grime, dried sweat from the trading pit, leaving you refreshed and clean. Now you make a cup of herbal tea, something soothing like chamomile or mint. The kettle's gentle whistle and the fragrant steam as you pour water over the tea bag mark the final unwind. Cup in hand, you settle into your favorite armchair by the window. Outside, You can see a slice of the city skyline in the distance, including the twinkling lights atop skyscrapers. The sky is a dark navy, and a few stars peek through, though the city's glow washes out most. You crack open the windows slightly to let in a final breath of cool night air, the sounds of a distant honk or two, and maybe the faint melody of someone's radio drifting from a neighboring building. Picking up your journal, a leather-bound notebook with a ribbon marker, you open to a blank page. Writing is your way to reflect and release the day's thoughts, setting them down so they don't swirl in your head as you try to sleep. You begin to write in a slow, cursive hand, the pen gliding quietly over the paper. You note the date, September 1986, and then a few highlights. Today, the market closed up modestly. Mentored Michael on his first day. He did well, eager and sharp. Felt proud to see him soaking it all in. Tony took a big risk on that merger rumor, and it paid off. A reminder that fortune favors the bold, but also that one must be cautious. It could have gone the other way. I executed several good trades for clients. Nothing earth-shattering, but steady work. The frenzy of the floor felt almost musical in its chaos, a strange harmony in the noise. And now the day ends in actual music, soothing jazz at the blue lamp. I am grateful for the balance of excitement and peace. You pause and sip your tea, feeling its warmth. Your eyes feel a pleasant heaviness now. You continue writing a bit more, noting how walking through the city at night always recenters you, how hearing the jazz made you think of your mentor Charlie, and whether you're doing a good job filling those shoes for someone else. You jot, remember to tell Michael about the time I nearly missed a trade because I was daydreaming. He should know even veterans slip, and it's okay. A little chuckle escapes your lips at that memory. The words in your journal trail off as you feel you've captured the essence of the day. You finish with an expression of gratitude. Thank you for another day of doing what I love. The chaos, the learning, the friendship, it all means so much. End of day, peace. You underline peace, lightly, then close the notebook, tying it shut with a small sigh of contentment. You rise from the armchair and perform the final small tasks, turning off the lamp in the living room, making sure the door is locked, setting the alarm clock for tomorrow. Though you wake naturally, it's always good to have backup. Then you retreat to your bedroom. The bed is inviting, dressed in fresh sheets. You changed yesterday, crisp yet soft. You set down your teacup, now empty, on the nightstand and slide under the covers. The bed welcomes your tired body, the mattress conforming just right, the pillow cool against your head. Lying there, you take a slow, deep breath. Inhale and exhale, allowing all remaining tension to drain away. You gaze at the ceiling, dimly lit by the faint glow of the city through the curtains. You hear the gentle hum of your apartment's radiator starting up, a reassuring white noise you've always found comforting. Your eyelids are getting very heavy now. In your mind, scenes of the day drift in and out, but now they're distant and soft, like watching a play through a frosted window. You might see a flash of the trading floor, but now the shouting is muffled and doesn't disturb you. You recall a snippet of the jazz melody, and it intertwines with the image of numbers on a chalkboard, oddly serenading them. These images become hazier. The chalk dust settles. The floor noise fades into a gentle murmur, then into silence. You roll onto your side, finding that perfect spot where your body completely relaxes. You feel the weight of the blanket, the support of the mattress, and the steady beat of your heart. Slower now, calm. A subtle smile forms as you acknowledge the fulfillment of this day and the promise of a new one tomorrow. Your breathing becomes slow and rhythmic. In and out, you let go of any remaining thoughts. There's nothing more you need to do, nothing more to analyze or plan right now. The world outside can carry on. Your part in it is done for today. Here, in your soft bed, you are safe, you are content, and you are at rest. As you drift towards sleep, you feel a wave of deep serenity wash over you. The last conscious thought that floats by is a simple feeling of being in rhythm with life's chaos and calm, much like a jazz piece, improvised, sometimes intense, but ultimately resolving into beautiful harmony. That harmony is within you now. Your eyes fully close. The day's images dissolve into the gentle dark behind your eyelids. The sounds of the city and even your own thoughts recede until all that's left is a comfortable quiet. Your body is heavy and relaxed, sinking into the bed. Night envelops you kindly, and you surrender to it, allowing yourself to slip into a deep, rejuvenating sleep. The story of today is complete, and you rest, peaceful and proud, ready to greet the dreams of the night and the new dawn when it comes.